You see me hesitating to even say it, right? Sticking there, I can't bring myself to say it.
This is why everyone's listening.
Yes.
They want to hear this, Gareth.
We created a coat made out of human hair, made out of the sort of sweepings off a barbershop floor.
The thing with creativity is there's a million good ideas, isn't there? And some of them just never land.
Yeah.
So how much of it is kind of chance, the fact that it kind of resonated with people? How much of it is creative genius?
Oh, it's all creative genius.
Of course it is,
I was going to say, you've just led him down there.
Is it fair to say if we don't have campaigns failing, we're not trying hard enough?
I think so.
So elaborate on that. What do you know?
In this week's episode, Will and I are joined by the brilliant Gareth Turner, who is the founder at The Big Black Door, an agency that brings CMO-level big brand thinking to its clients, helping brands to grow without making rookie mistakes. Anything sound familiar there? Gareth's experience is widely in FMCG and food and drink, but he also has helped publishers, charities and marketing agencies, which he does touch on. Gareth has previously been head of brand at Arla Foods, but more recently head of brand at Weetabix. And yes, he was in charge of the brand when they did the award-winning collaboration with Heinz baked beans. In his words, it almost broke the internet. I know you're going to love this episode because Gareth shares some fascinating fails. He's got two big ones in here. One about a chocolate hair-flavoured coat, which I'll let him talk about, and another which was quite interesting too. So, as always, sit back, relax, and let's hear how you can improve your brand marketing without having to spend the hours and hours learning from your own mistakes. Enjoy. Gareth, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, so you've got a very fascinating history. I've been going through your LinkedIn profile and the various bits and pieces you've said. And the proposed title for today's show was, "They're called marketing fundamentals for a reason."
Yeah.
So why don't you tell me what you mean by that? Marketing fundamentals. Let's start with that.
Well, I guess my sort of theory here is that there are certain fundamentals, there are certain core principles in marketing that are the same whether you're talking FMCG, B2B, B2C, other things I can't think of right now, but just they're called fundamentals for a reason. And a couple of times recently, I've had somebody say, "Okay, thanks for the proposal, Gareth. We won't work with you. You're going to work with someone else because you haven't got B2B experience." Okay, I think the fundamentals are still pretty much the same. What I do have is 25 years of some of the best training in the world in marketing, from Heineken, from Arla Foods, from Weetabix. I think a good marketeer with the fundamentals behind them should be able to turn their hands to anything. So yeah, it's I find it frustrating where people prioritize tactics, you need to be on TikTok. Okay, that's great. Why do I need to be on TikTok? Because it could well be that I need to be on TikTok, but what are the fundamentals that, perhaps we'll touch on these in a bit, but what are some of the fundamentals that I need to appreciate and understand to decide whether TikTok is the right thing for me?
Yeah, absolutely. You've preached to the converted. People saying they want to be on a channel when they haven't really thought through just because everybody else is on it.
Yep.
Yeah, so come on, break down some of those fundamentals for us then.
Well, I think for me, it all starts with a deep understanding of the target audience. And that whether your target audience is, for Weetabix, it was 99% of the population, people who have cereal for breakfast. So people who are buying into your category, or whether it's for B2B, it might be, a building merchant, building materials merchant or something, I don't know. But the fundamental is that you understand your target audience. You understand what their motivations are. You understand what their barriers are to purchase. Why aren't these 100% of the population buying Weetabix? Well, perhaps we'll unpick some of these, but once you understand that, you can decide, well, what things do we need to say to them that might make them buy our products? What messages do we say? What media are we going to choose? What's the right moment to intervene? So once you understand all these things, and they're all attitudinal understanding, that's not millennial. That's absolutely pointless. That's not an understanding of your audience. That's so broad. There's so many different attitudes and beliefs that sit within that demographic. But once you understand the attitudes, the barriers, the motivations, you can then think about how you're going to grow your brand with those people.
So taking Weetabix as an example, by the way, you actually worked at Weetabix for a few years, didn't you? What was your role there?
Head of marketing for 3 years at Weetabix.
Right.
Yes.
So, and one of the reasons you're on the show, obviously, is you were there during the Weetabix and baked beans gate, right?
Do
we call it gate? I don't know if it is.
I think is it a breaking of the internet? I think
we call it
the
that. Or
accepted term.
to give it its full term, the award-winning.
right, okay.
Multi-award winning.
Multi-award. Did you write the award?
No, Marketing Week Campaign of the Year. It was 2021.
That's cool.
So yeah, I was there. Yes, it was.
So for anyone that isn't familiar with it, explain the
what
campaign,
happened?
and then what I'd like to do is dig into the insight and the customer understanding that led you to that brilliant campaign.
It's like controversial. I don't think it was a campaign. I think it's an execution. So so for Marketing Week to call it the campaign of the year, I actually think it's slightly strange. It was an execution in a broader campaign, right? So the broader campaign, Weetabix had, I think they still do, but they had 2 strands of activity. One was, generally speaking, around just brand equity driving ads in the classic long and the short of it, right? So you'd see things like the submarine ad that we made, or there's one, a riff on the Little Red Riding Hood. It was the Three Little Pigs. Sorry, Three Little Pigs and the Wolf. A riff on that. They were equity building campaigns. Then we had a strand of work which was sort of inspiration, just trying to get the product out of people's cupboards, into their bowls, and hopefully down their necks. So the TV advertising for that was, we called it Any Which Way Bix. So it would have Weetabix with hot milk, Weetabix with cold milk, Weetabix with this fruit, Weetabix with that fruit, Weetabix with yogurt, Weetabix, all these different things, just showing people different ways of eating the product. And then you can take it to an extreme then, and Frank, the agency who worked on that with us, said, well, what about we do some sort of slightly weird partnerships? What about if we do Weetabix and Heinz beans, and we had Weetabix and Marmite. We had Weetabix with innocent smoothies, with Cathedral City's cheddar, I think, and there may have been
That
one
sounds
other.
quite nice, that one.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, I'll give it. Okay, absolutely, yeah.
Cheddar.
But
I'd think so.
the Marmite one was on the Monday, and I thought that was the one.
Yeah.
That was a slam dunk.
Love it or hate it.
Yeah.
Marmite.
Got a bit of interest, but nothing much. But then
Yeah.
Tuesday was the beans one, and it went absolute gangbusters. That got 1.3 billion impressions.
And most of them,
Beat that, Will.
I'd imagine. So did it start?
Only 1.2 were me. Sorry.
Did it start as an organic concern then, and then the media picked up on it, or did the kind of, was it a joined up approach where the concept was pitched to the media, because it just seemed so organic the way it was talked
it was totally
about.
organic. There's no paid on it at all.
Really? Wow.
So it's 1.3 billion organic reach, or impressions, I should say. And yeah, it was picked up by news outlets all over the place. It was on Good Morning Britain with Piers Morgan. Remember him?
Was he furious about it?
He was.
Wasn't he?
He was.
He's probably interviewing people about how they can't like baked beans.
Well, he was. He tried it. He tried it, and he did try it on live on. I've got the clip, but the reason that I have the clip is that on it he says, "I know who did this. It was Frank PR. Whatever you're paying them Weetabix, double it." And so, funnily enough, Frank made sure that I got to see that clip. Yeah, it was discussed in the House of Commons. Jacob Rees-Mogg said, as my nanny once said, Weetabix are unbeatabix. So yeah,
the most Jacob Rees-Mogg comment possible. Yeah. So how much a campaign like that? It's well executed. It's a good idea. It's a great idea.
It's a great piece of content.
But it's a great piece of content. But there's the thing with creativity is there's a million good ideas, isn't there? And some of them just never land.
Yeah.
So how much of it is kind of chance, the fact that it kind of resonated with people? How much of it is creative genius?
Oh, it's all creative genius.
Of course it is.
I was going to say, you've just led him down there.
But to be fair, it wasn't my creative genius. I didn't really see much of it until it had gone live, right? So, it's all luck. One creates the right environment for these things.
Yeah.
Like I said, the ones I thought were the doozies, they weren't the ones that went gangbusters. So, I believe, you'd have to ask my team, but I believe that we created the right environment for that sort of stuff to happen. So we gave the team empowerment to create these things. We were trying to get bolder marketing in Weetabix at the time, and so we had a couple of little sort of phrases that we kept coming back to. So things like we would say yes if rather than no because. So in that example, and I mean I'm simplifying here, right, to make the point, but when Elaine, the assistant brand manager, if she'd come to me with this thing, it would have been easy to go, oh, I'm not sure we do that because I'm not sure it looks tasty or something. But what you can say is, well, yes, we could do that if you can just convince me that it's tasty. It's a very different. It's the same conversation, but in a much more empowering.
So that's a
engaging
cultural
way.
thing that you
Yes.
impose, or not impose. You
encouraged,
you encourage within your team.
Innovation.
So it's you might have 9-10 activations, none of which fly, but the fact that you've got this culture.
But that's what you said, wasn't it, Gareth?
Yes.
That you had like you had
There's 5 that week.
5 a week.
There was 5. Well, it's only 1 week of it. There's 5 that week.
And then it was day 2 that you
day
went
2,
nuclear.
and so we just brought all the other ones in on that day. So we had everyone was
Yeah.
piling in.
Like
so,
Specsavers, that wasn't you. That was just them jumping.
that
The
was them
social
jump-
media
yeah.
manager.
So yeah, there was. I mean, there was.
I mean,
there
every
were
brand
thousands.
manager, there'll be social media managers listening to this, going, "Oh yeah, I jumped on that."
Yeah.
Baked beans on what? It was just basically chuck baked beans on every product, wasn't
But
it?
there we and then so yeah. I mean, to be fair, we had. It wasn't. There was a degree of planning in it. So
Yeah.
we had spoken to each of those brands. We'd spoken to Heinz, right, and said, on Tuesday, are you okay if we do this? They said, yes, we are. I said, okay, on Tuesday, we're going to say this. It'd be great if you replied. And they go, okay, we'll reply. What are you going to say? And they told us what they're going to say. Okay, so we'll be ready with that one as well, right? So there's a bit of planning.
Yeah.
And we had a bank of, as it started to get some traction, we had the bank of different responses. And so we played them out. And then we really got going. We just prioritized the ones where there was the biggest traction, where people had the biggest followings and the biggest reach. And that accelerated it. The US Embassy in London.
I mean, that's truly viral, isn't it?
I feel like we should have jumped on it for Prohibition. Well,
I know we've missed a trick
the
there, haven't
podcast
we?
should have jumped all over it.
Well, the truth is, I think many brand managers did miss the boat, right? And so I talked about this yes if approach, but the other thing we had was an approach of what's the worst that can happen. And the reality is, in something like that, the worst that could happen is someone just keeps scrolling.
Yeah.
That if it was, and as I said, we were chatting earlier on, no one's going out, very few people are going into work saying, I'm really going to fuck this up. I'm going to do my best to do the worst work I possibly can do. No one does that. So if you take that positive intent and say, okay, well, what's the worst that can happen? Well, someone's going to scroll past it. I don't think anyone's at that point was going to go, do you know what? Oh, now they put beans on Weetabix, I'm no longer going to buy it. I mean, of course they're not, right? So the worst that can happen is not very much. So it's worth a punt.
We've not yet politicised baked beans in this country, have we? But watch this space.
So the campaign was brilliant. You won what market? Did you say marketing
Week
campaign of the year?
Yeah.
So who presented you with a trophy?
I don't think we got one. It was in lockdown. It was.
Oh no!
Did you get a mail order like some?
I don't think I even got
mail
that.
order?
Did you put baked beans on the actual?
We should have done, shouldn't we?
award?
Yeah. No, we didn't get. I don't know if we got.
God, lockdown awards. I don't miss those. Do you?
No.
Normally-
dial in on a really slow Twitter connection.
Everyone's
Everyone's getting pissed at home. So this idea, is it fair to say if we don't have campaigns failing, we're not trying hard enough?
I think so.
So elaborate on that. What do what
You
is?
got to, if there's, I think one has to. If you want to drive your brand awareness, if you come back to the marketing fundamentals, the marketing fundamentals here are one for a brand like Weetabix, make your brand easy to think of, easy to find, easy to buy, easy to use, easy to eat, right? So that strand of recipe inspiration is the easy to eat part. But the rest of it is keeping yourself front of mind. So Weetabix has, 98% prompted awareness, and 2% of the population, I think, are lying, right? Everyone's heard of Weetabix. So that awareness isn't the problem, but you can keep it relevant. You can keep it in the conversation, and that's what that did. It helped keep it relevant. And you keep a brand relevant by being interesting and having a point of view, and having a helpful point of view as a point of view that somebody can easily take an opposite but equally valid point of view too. So point of view to say, world peace would be great. Yeah, really? No one can disagree with that, right? But to say we think you should put beans on a Weetabix, well, that's just because I think that and you might think the other doesn't make us bad people, just makes us having a different opinion.
I think what worked with those controversial sort of partnerships is that people like to have an opinion on something. So a cracking thing that I was years ago when we were social media managers for other like consumer clients, I was talking to the head of social at Asda, as a kind of social media friend of mine, and he said that they publish content every day, every day, tons of content. And the biggest post that they did was cheese plus toast. How do you do yours? Kind of thing. And it was like different orders of cheese and toast. So is it white bread with what sort of cheese? Yeah. Is it beans? Is it Weetabix? Is it brown sauce, red sauce, and all the different combinations? And it just every time they did cheese on toast, it just went.
It's those conversation topics that happen in the office or in the pub, isn't it? That I mean, circling back to kind of audience understanding. Then, so practically speaking, brand like Weetabix, what does that look like? How do you mine that kind of insight to come up with those great campaigns and those great ideas?
Well, Weetabix is almost a bad example because it's so ubiquitous that it's in God knows how many cupboards are up and down. And I suspect a lot of us in this room have got Weetabix in the cupboard.
I didn't have any last night, actually. I needed some.
Well, there you go. So, but it'd be in most of our repertoires.
Yeah.
If you're buying cereal, it's in most of your repertoires. But so your target audience, so back to fundamentals, if you believe Ehrenberg, Bass, Byron Sharp, those guys, it's people who are buying into your category. Your category buyers are your target audience. For Weetabix, that's 98% of the population, whatever it is. For other people, it'd be a lot less than that. So the insight for Weetabix actually is a very broad. That's why it's a mainstream brand. You never see anything too controversial from Weetabix. But a brand like Paddy Power or something like that can afford to be much spikier because their target audience is a very different target audience. So they can be controversial, provocative, because that will resonate with their target audience
Playful.
more. Yes, and something that you or I may find offensive, their target audience may not.
This segment of the show is about marketing fuck-ups, and chatting to you pre-show, you've told us some absolutely horrific sounding campaigns.
Fucking hell. That's a bit harsh. Absolutely horrific.
I didn't think that bad, right?
I must admit, the one, I'm not going to say what it is.
There's one leaping out at you.
Yeah, when we mentioned it in the office, people were going, "What?
Yeah.
How did that work? That sounds disgusting."
So it didn't.
Yeah, well, that's great. So do you want to tell us about some of the campaigns that haven't perhaps worked as well?
You want to go there, do you?
We do.
Definitely.
Straight in there.
So I left Heineken and I joined Arla, and I wanted to make a name for myself. So I was tasked with launching this chocolate milkshake drink, and I launched this chocolate milkshake drink. We had a campaign shot. We had outdoor, and I need the PR campaign here, right? And okay, it sticks in my throat. You can see me hesitating to even say it, right? It's sticking there. I can't bring myself to say it.
This is why everyone's listening.
Yes.
They want to hear this, Gareth.
So it was, the stunt was that we created a coat made out of human hair, made out of the sort of sweepings off a barbershop floor. And we got some London fashion students to make this thing. And we PR'd that. I repeat, to support the launch of a chocolate milkshake.
So, okay, let's just go back. We'll just wind back to the strategy.
Well, there you go.
It's based on insight. So the insight of having human hair onto a coat. Let's just go
and there you
the
go. And there you go. There's the challenge, right? So the brand was a high protein sort of chocolate milk drink with added protein, 25 grams of protein. It was an amazing product.
Yeah.
And we were the sort of campaign idea, we were sort of riffing on these ideas of like overblown masculinity. Like, so on my Facebook feed today, I got, the shoot was 11 years ago today. And there's pictures of me, I can say I've never looked cooler than the moment of me in this coat and sort of a big long fur coat.
Can we get that picture?
It wasn't in that coat, good Lord.
Is that picture on the internet?
It's not the hair coat.
We're going to get that.
The hair coat. I've given you a link to the hair coat.
Oh, let's take a look at that, yeah.
There's but it's overblown masculinity was the idea. And we had like a guy like holding a lion, like looking strong, like this sort of perfume ads and sort of there's a riff on those sort of things, right? And we had like things like we thought that was funny. And so we just took it to the next level. So what could be more manly than a coat made of man hair? And so that was the thought progression. But I come back to your point. There was no insight there. So why did that not work? Well, I think a number of different reasons. I think it was overly complicated. It was so many layers to that onion that you had to unpick to understand why we'd done that thing. It wasn't executing an idea. It was a thing that we thought was funny, and I've since learned that's not probably good enough to put out in the real world. And finally, a fundamental of marketing is if you're talking about a food, it needs to be talking about taste, or at least not going against taste, and it's not undermining taste credentials. So you put all those things together. I didn't adhere to the fundamentals of marketing, and that's why that thing.
Hence the name of the show that you've given us.
Yeah. So that.
So how was it met? So you used this as a PR hook, did you? So what was it met with indifference or confusion or?
No. It was.
What was the title? That was my question. Similar to what Will was saying. What was the title of the release?
I can't remember.
I'm trying to connect the two dots, like human hair.
Well, I'm just looking here. The news article from 2013 was Manly Milk Company creates human hair fur coat.
That's a very functional headline, isn't it?
It is, isn't it?
But there was like
the sun is shitting
there's a sort of guy, sort of like in this hair coat. But it got some traction.
Right.
So
it worked then.
Well, not.
But it's so
it wasn't good traction.
You're right about the link.
It was
discussed. It was discussed.
The moment you've got to explain an idea, it's too complicated, isn't it?
So I'm there at the first however many months, 6-7 months into my job at Arla, and I get a call from the global head of PR. Because Gareth, I've got CNN from Japan on the line. I go, oh my God, what have I done? What have I done? I'm just trying to do good stuff here. And he goes, yeah, don't worry, mate. I'll sort this out. They want an interview. CNN want an interview with you. Okay, I can't do this. But yeah, so despite that, I did all right.
Did you go on it?
End. No.
Oh, okay.
No. That was I wasn't experienced enough to do that live.
Okay.
But yeah, it was. Thank God Piers Morgan didn't get hold of that one. That would have been.
Yeah, he wouldn't have liked
it. The weird thing about this is you're saying that it did get some traction despite the headline being quite functional. But actually, if in the modern era of social media and TikTok, if you'd done a TikTok video about the campaign and creating a jacket out of human hair, although I have to admit, it does sound revolting, doesn't it?
It sounds itchy. It sounds.
It
doesn't
sound like something I want to wear.
It was awful. But yeah, it doesn't link to the product. It doesn't link to the logic. The logic flow from your product and your brand, your product benefit of it's got high protein. I mean, it's quite a jump, isn't it? It's quite a leap there.
Yeah.
So that's why that didn't work.
We've had fuck up number 1, which was the human hair jacket, and then we've got fuck up number 2 here, which is interesting, mainly because my kids are massively into darts now at home. They've already put nearly a hole in my £5,000 flat screen TV, just slightly. Because they're into darts. So why don't you tell us about your insight and your campaign around darts? Because they'll be interested.
So this is an executional thing. So John Smith's back in the day. And I mean, this would be.
Is this Peter Kay John Smith's ads?
Thank you for mentioning that. I did do the last three Peter Kay ads for John Smith's. That was my first ever TV advertising.
Oh, right. Before we go any further with your fuck up, then. Peter Kay thing. What was the brief, or did you just let him do whatever he wanted and put John Smith's on it?
Okay, maybe if I was dialing into this, I would just down there in my home desk. I've got a pile of probably 150 scripts that were written for those 3 ads. We chose 3 out of those 100. Unbelievable comedy gold, unbroadcastable comedy gold in there. And
who wrote them, Peter?
No.
You did.
No.
As in John Smith.
So yeah. So when I say like I did those ads, right? Well, I briefed those ads, and TBWA made those ads, and Peter Kay starred in them. And other tidbit: the director of those ads was a guy called Danny Kleinman, who now directs the opening credits for James Bond films.
Wow. I mean, because those Peter Kay ads are like, I've heard people talking about the fact that in TV campaigns now, there's hardly any humour other than Specsavers.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of humour. And those Peter Kay, 2 Lambooners here.
Yeah. So if I'm being totally transparent.
Which ones did you do?
So being totally transparent, I did I did the last 3, which were called Diner, where he's there with his wife and some friends in like a harvester. I did one called Dog Show. I did one called Antiques, a sort of riff on Antiques Roadshow. Whilst the Diner did win a Golden Arrow, I don't think they were the Champions League of the Peter ads. I think they were maybe mid-table Premiership. But the big ones are Top Bombing, Abbott, those ones.
Top Bombing.
They weren't mine, but they.
You won't know what the hell we're talking about. Will
you need to look those up. The Top Bombing is an Abbott. You still
Abbott. I still say that.
You still hear it at the football grounds when someone hoofs the ball and someone shouts Abbott, and that is the sign of amazing copywriting. When I'm going to say 30 years later, maybe people are still saying that thing. That's unbelievable.
Have it, and you still associate it with John Smith. That's how I remember John's. So that shows you amazing adverts that you connect the two. It was Peter Kay, but I always believed that Peter Kay wrote the scripts to the ads, and it was his free reign. It wasn't.
No, well, Peter Kay had done these. So John Smith had done these loads of Peter Kay ads, like amazing Peter Kay ads.
They won loads of awards, right?
Yeah. Loads. I mean, before my time, amazing John Smith ads. Then they moved away and they went down another avenue. Did a thing called No Nonsense Landlord. They did all these different things. And then I came along and we said, okay, we're going to give it another go. We're going to do some more advertising. And we created a script and we created the scripts that ended up being Peter Kay coming back. But Peter Kay wasn't on board when we wrote those scripts. So they were written for John Smith's and a character who was going to be, we call him like sort of no-nonsense man type character, like an everyman character. And then we approached a few people. Peter Kay was one of those people we approached, and Peter Kay eventually said he'd do it. So they were written for John Smith's character. They weren't written specifically for Peter Kay. Having said that, when I was lucky to spend 3 days shooting those with Peter Kay, just it's like on a shoot, just hanging around, and he was just sitting there chatting to us. But he added another level of. I can say they were like an 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. Yeah. He takes them to an 11 out of 10 with just his riffs. The outtakes, again, unbroadcastable, but hilarious. Somewhere at home, I can't find it. I've got a DVD of the outtakes, but I'm still trying to find it, but I can't. It was brilliant.
Because that's him in his peak. I mean,
yes,
right on the peak of Peter Kay fame.
Yes.
And I know he's just come back to about 18 months ago. To do a world sold out tour for about 7 years or something.
I think that was probably about 10 years ago, perhaps maybe a bit longer, maybe 12 years ago. So he was right in his pomp at that time.
We'll move from Top Bombing back to...
Quickly in darts then. So what we sponsored, and I think I've got darts and something else to show the yin and the yang of that. So we sponsored the Grand National at the time. And we sponsored the Lakeside World Darts, like the BDO World, not the PDC one, the BDO one, not the grassroots, the sort of everyman darts. And we wanted to bring our drinkers closer to the action of these sort of things, right? And so eventually, with the racing, we bought a racehorse. You had a promotion where you buy a pint, you get a share, and then we brought these people. Like the working men's clubs, drinkers up and down the country, take them to Aintree, get them in the parade ring, get them in the winners' enclosure, all these sort of stuff like that. That was when it worked brilliantly. That was the insight. Was we know our punters love John Smith and they love racing. We do that. They also love darts, and so when it worked well, we did a thing called the People's Darts, where we got all the pub players up and down the country playing each other, tournaments. Get to the final of this, and we played the final on the stage as the curtain raiser for the World Darts Final. Right? Wow. So you got the whole thing packed, and these guys are throwing darts.
Amazing.
But then we said, well, do it again. It was the early days of the iPhone. We'll get, you remember the Carling eye pint? Remember that?
Wow. Yeah.
Sort of look at that. Yeah. And so in the business, chatting in the office, and we go, what's our version? What's our version of that? And so this is where you get the tactic and the execution ahead of the strategy. We'll do an iPhone app. What can it be? We'll do darts. And so we did this. We had this darts game on the iPhone. It was brilliant. It was the actual app was incredible. But this is in the very early days of the iPhone. Our drinkers are guys who are sort of late 50s into their 60s. They're not they're not at the cutting edge. They're not at they're not early adopters of that. So Carling, yes, absolutely, that's the right people. But John Smith's was not the right thing to do for that. We got too distracted by an internal desire to do something quite interesting. And that was not customer related, consumer related.
Do you think that's because I'm thinking of the era of when that would be, and that was, it's like now, it's like, what can we do with AI, because AI's in everything.
Yes. Yeah.
And isn't this just, the iPhone's come out, we need an app. It's like when websites first came out, we need a website on this, and then it was, apps came out, we need an app.
Yeah.
Do you think that's what it was? Because it's the new shiny thing in marketing. We need to do one.
We were chatting before we recorded, but this idea of, I regularly hear, what we need to be on TikTok. Okay, we might need to be on TikTok, but let's have a chat about what you're trying to achieve, who your audience is, where your audience hanging out, where they're finding the right information. And the answer might still be TikTok, but there's some fundamentals that go before that, which in that example for the John Smith app, I don't think we did. We got distracted by the shiny new object.
See what he did there, Will? He pulled it right back to the title of the show.
I like it.
I like that. I like that. He segued that right back to the beginning. The fundamentals.
It's hard to kill a good idea, though, isn't it? When you've got a cracking idea that you just think is brilliant.
Yeah.
But part of you does recognise this might not be quite right for our audience.
I actually think the idea was quite good. It sounds like you had quite a good idea.
It was before its time.
Yeah.
If everyone's got an iPhone now, or everyone's got a smartphone, let's say.
Yeah.
So it's just that I didn't even have. I would have been like in my 30s. I didn't have an iPhone. If I haven't got one, we went with the agency that developed it for us. We went and bought an iPhone so that we could go
see what it
did.
Yeah.
So there should have been an alarm bell ringing at that point.
Yeah.
So the racehorse, that's intrigued me. So how did that work then? You went out and they say never work with children and animals, don't they?
Yeah, so we bought a horse, Smithy the horse. As a PO, I raised a PO.
How much was that then?
You raised a PO for a racehorse.
Yeah.
That sounds expensive.
Yeah, item horse 1. It cost us about 50 grand that horse. It was a decent amount of money. It wasn't. Yeah. It was, and we had, because we were into horse racing. I think John Smith still are, but we had a lot of people pointing in the right direction. It was a horse, a young horse, hadn't raced before. The lineage of it was strong. Yeah, some sort of Group 1 winners in the parentage and stuff. We then took the horse and we had it trained in the McCain yard, so where Red Rum was trained. We had Donald McCain, Ginger McCain was still alive back then, promoting it. We raced it, and the idea was that we would race this horse, and our drinkers could come and watch that horse and go in the parade ring and stuff. But then,
did it ever win?
No, no. I think it raced twice.
And the punters could become a shareholder in the horse.
Buy a pint, get a share.
Is that a bit like the equity for punks scheme?
Yeah.
For Brewdog many years later.
Again, before our time, weren't we? But yeah, so you buy a pint, get a share. That was the thing. So you got a little. It wasn't actually a share, right? But the idea was that you could then go to the races. Then at Aintree for the Grand National Festival, we would then build a pub. So where we'd bring these shareholders along, and we had the Dog and Trumpet or whatever it was, and we had like a proper pub there. So most of the hospitality there is all sort of fancy, sort of silver service. This was a proper pub. We had we'd bring like Bobby George to come and play darts against all the blokes from the Working Men's Club, and that was a great execution.
That's remained a big theme, hasn't it? When we do a lot of persona work now at Prohibition, and constantly the theme we see when we're doing kind of audience deep dives is that people want just buying from a brand isn't enough. They want to be involved in they want the community side of it.
Right.
They want insider information and insider, and that's a really good. I mean, again, maybe but ahead of its time, but that's definitely a trend now as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's a great observation, but it perhaps wouldn't have been articulated like that back then. But the agency, I should give them a shout out, Space, the agency who created that for us. That came from an immersion. So when we pitched that work, they said, well, Gareth, can you give us a name of some working men's clubs? And they went out to this working men's club in Nottingham, got chatting with these guys, and the racing was on. They got chatting about horse racing, and the guys were sort of saying, well, yeah, we love to go horse racing. Well, we'll take you horse racing. So they took them horse racing, and just chatting to them and said, oh, look at all them in the parade ring. Oh, it'd be great to be in there. And you can see that the cogs going, of course, we'll get you in there, of course. And John Smith can then you're in the know. You're in the inner circle there. That's
what I like there is that the agency has pitched to you that they've held a strategic focus group. In actual fact, what they've done is gone and get pissed in a working men's club and gone to the races.
We should do that more often.
Yeah, exactly. On the company budget. Oh my God, amazing. And so obviously you worked at Arla Foods, you worked on Lurpak, is that right?
Yeah, so I was the marketing director in the UK for butter, so Lurpak, Anchor, and private label.
Did you get, what's the little guy called?
Oh, Douglas. Talk about distinctive brand assets we talked about earlier on, and Douglas, the trombone playing butterman.
That's definitely getting clipped.
That he hasn't been on Lurpak, I'm going to say, for probably well over 20 years.
Bad strategy, bring it back.
25 years. Well, again, I think they've done all right since Lurpak, since Douglas was sort of.
Is he dead? They killed him.
I don't think it was real. I think he was made out of butter.
Morph.
He's melted. He melted.
There's a growing movement towards characters, animals, and characters are known to work with brands.
Yes.
So a good example is the guys from Ribena are now bringing back. They've brought back the
Ribena berries.
Yeah, the Ribena berries.
Right.
Yeah, and there's a lot of brands are getting a lot more traction from brand work rather than just blimmin' digital marketing, performance marketing. It's all about the brand. It's like you said, talkability and people referring back to the brand. And I think that Lurpak and Peter Kay for John Smith's. Yeah, so the point is that brand characters seem to work and they make it memorable. So the Meerkats, good example.
Yeah.
Everybody thought they were stupid. Next thing I know, they won all the awards.
Yes.
For, and John Smith's, Peter Kay, Lurpak, Douglas. I think this. I'm starting it now. They should bring back Douglas.
Well, I'm sure they were welcome. You wouldn't be the first to suggest bringing back Douglas, but yeah, they've done all right without him. But yeah, the Good Food Deserves Lurpak is the campaign that they've been running for 20 plus years. And Wyden and Kennedy should give them a shout for that as the agency. But they were number 2 or 3 brand in value terms in butter in the UK, and the trajectory is unbelievable. They became I think probably before I got involved, they'd probably just become the number 1 brand by value, but at 100% price premium to its nearest competitor. So if you're double the price of your nearest competitor and growing, that's a pretty strong brand.
Yeah, I saw again during like lockdown, or I don't know if it was lockdown or after. You'll know the one I'm about to talk about because it got loads of PR traction that it had broken through the £5 per piece of butter.
Yes.
What do you call it?
Per
What do
unit,
they call it? A knob.
Yeah.
Is that the,
You can beat that out.
I think it was block. I think
Block. There we go. Not knob.
a knob is what you cut off it, isn't it? And
I'll leave that to you.
You would do,
yeah. So the block of butter is £5.
Yeah.
Right.
butter.
Yeah. They.
terminology.
It's expensive at the moment.
So outside of the clients you've worked with, then you've probably got a really good kind of macro view and a keen interest, I'm sure, in other brands across the whole market. Who's smashing it as far as you're concerned when it comes to marketing? You know, who's doing really bold work that just really impresses you?
Specsavers are doing great work. I think the reason I like that work so much is that it's consistent, it's brand building, it's in-house, and because I think it's unusual to see work of that consistent quality being done in-house, I think.
And led by insight, you know, the petrol pump activation, they knew that people often can't see the pumps, refill with diesel instead of petrol.
The sponsorship of the referees.
Well, that's what I'm going to say. There's so many, that's a amazing creative idea which has been executed in different channels.
Based on insight.
Based on insight. Well, and the other, I mean, if we're really going to torture this,
on sight, not insight.
Yeah. But I think the beauty of this will be wrong, right? But the creative idea is something like you make silly, funny mistakes when you can't see properly, right? That's that, and they dramatise that in all these different ways. Now, what I like about that is that any optician could say that. So when people talk about, I need to find this thing that's peculiar to Specsavers or Vision Express or what have you, Vision Express could have done that, but they've made this land grab for something, and they've talked about it consistently and persistently for a long period of time about this sort of funny, silly mistakes, and that's a category entry point. People will be recognising that thing, like you say, the petrol station, or misreading something, mishearing something. They do the same thing for their hearing aid service. So it's about mishearing something. All these things are great insights that anyone in that category could have spotted, but they've spotted it, and then they bring a strategic consistency to that and an executional consistency. The narrative arc of those is broadly the same. You get this set up. There's a vet doing an operation on a cat. Oh no, it's not a cat, it's a hat. Okay,
they've effectively branded any mistake anybody makes in the public eye, which is extraordinary.
Well, and there you go. So we talked about John Smith and Avet. Then the same is for Specsavers. When someone has made a mistake about misseeing something, then people would say it's in the vernacular, and that's the power of a great idea.
It's like when we used to work with Ron Seal, and people used to say it does exactly what it says on the tin. We used to do social listening for them, and every month it would come out strong in the reports we were doing. It does. It's the only brand I've ever seen that.
And the other thing with Ron Seal, when someone appears on TV really suntanned, they said they've been Ron Sealed. It's amazing how that, like you say, it moves into the common vernacular, doesn't it?
I think don't scratch the surface of my knowledge on this, but I think the Specsavers case study is a great case study, because they had the should have gone to Specsavers. They moved away from that for a year or so, a few years ago, and didn't perform well. They came back to it, and suddenly the brand has started to perform well again. So it's I think a validation of a strong insight, end line, everything else, but also the power of consistency over time. Because none of those ads don't feel old-fashioned and stale. They keep moving it on, but they're not moving off. They keep
they're genuinely entertaining, aren't they? Which even if you know what's coming, but they're still entertaining.
Yeah. The weird thing about ads as well is as marketers, we always think, we've got to update them. But actually, like the holidays are coming every year, 25 years. Yeah. Every year for 25 years, same advert.
Yeah.
And it gets 5 out of 5 every year in the scoring. It's insane.
I think I forget who it might be. System One have been talking about ads not wearing out, but they actually need to wear in more than wear out, and that's we. As marketeers, we get sick of the ad. More often than not, you've been working on this ad for 6 months. You've been poring over every detail. You've been, do you think we should edit that, make that cut a 2.83 of a second early, or whatever it is? Obsessing over the detail. And by the time it comes out, you're sick of it. All the joy has been sucked out of this thing. And then it goes off. So you're ready to move on, but the general public haven't even seen the thing yet. You think of the money you to spend to get 50% of the population of the UK to be fed up with it. Most brands aren't spending that sort of money.
So is there still a place for mass market advertising? There's a lot of talk about there being no place for the TVC anymore. Is that, what's your view on that?
Rubbish.
Yeah, I'm agree.
Absolute rubbish. If you can afford it, and that's the big if, right? If you can afford it, TV should be your go-to first thing on your lay down, absolutely, and then you build on top of that.
Yeah, because you can target better on TV now. You can do direct-to-consumer targeting, can't you?
But I just think it's the cost of doing it. The entry cost is high, but the cost per thousand is very good for TV, and it's a signal of intent to your retail buyers when you're going to Tesco. So, but I'm going on TV the 1st of April. Up to you if you want to list it or not, Mr. Tesco, but it'll be on TV, and I've got it listed in all the other places, so you're cool. Suddenly you're in a slightly stronger position to negotiate your listings, etc.
And how, when it comes to retail buyers, because I'm fascinated by this, that is really important, isn't it? Showing that you've got marketing clout to put behind a piece of NPD.
Yeah, so anything. So when you're selling in, you're talking about the category role you're going to play, how you're going to grow the category for that retailer, how you're going to perhaps premiumize. You're talking about where it's going on their shelf, because the first question they normally ask you is, so which one of your SKUs are you going to sacrifice? Well, it's not my SKU, it's the Kellogg's one over there. We're taking that one on. What's in it for them? How are you going to bespoke it for them is what they want to know, and then how are you supporting it? And you can't just put something on a shelf and expect the general public to go, just what I've been waiting for. It just doesn't work like that. You have to show people back to some of the fundamentals to cover that in. But you need to make your brand and your MPD easy to think of, easy to find, easy to buy, easy to use, eat. So if you're failing on easy to think of, then no one's going to buy it. You need to have mental availability and physical availability.
So, bringing it right back from the fundamentals to today, what are you doing today then, Gareth? What are you doing at the Big Black Door?
So I'm helping more brands with those fundamentals, right? So all that training I had over the years at Heineken, etc., all the 3-day residential course on writing a brief, the 3-day residential course on how to assess work, I'm taking that and working with scaling brands who have just got all these opportunities coming at them, and just people saying you need to be on TikTok, you need to be on this. Go, right, everyone stop. What is it we're trying to do here? What's our objective? And just getting them pointed in the right direction, using my experience and my team's experience. I've got 25 years plus. My team have got almost half a century, right, between us, to point them in the right direction, or to work with bigger brands who just don't have the time to do everything they should be doing. And they go, I just need someone who knows what they're doing here. Just go and do that thing for me. And we go and do that thing for them and come back and go, we've done that thing for you now. They go, thank you very much.
And it's food and drink, is it?
It's food, FMCG, food and drink. Yeah, I'm working with some charities, and I'm working with a large shopping centre and some other things. But the bullseye for me is food and drink.
And if people want to get in contact with you, following this, they've heard this episode, they think, my God, I need to talk to Mr. Weetabix. How can they get hold of you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. It's probably it's a necessary evil. It's a bit icky being self-publicising on LinkedIn, but it's where I hang out.
It's fine. Pretty much every guest we've had has said find me on LinkedIn.
It's hideous.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Do you want to give Big Black Door
what's the
website address?
What's the URL to Big Black Door?
BigBlackDoor.com.
How did you come up with that? No, okay, good.
Small black door was taken.
Yeah.
One of the questions we ask all of our guests, and I'm going to put you on the spot again here, is who should we get on the show next? So anyone you know within your network who you think would be fascinating to talk to.
Yeah, who would make a cracking guest is what Will's saying there.
Who would make a cracking guest?
Because that's how we got you on the show.
Lucas Bergmans is good. So we worked together at Heineken. He, former CMO at Kazoo. Quite popular.
What's he called, sorry?
Lucas Bergmans. We were at Heineken together. He was at Money Supermarket, Kazoo. He's now set up on his own, so he can speak freely.
Someone recommended the founder of Nando's, his personal friends with the founder of Nando's.
Right. Wow.
Who he's supposed to be introducing us to.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if he has yet.
One of my clients wouldn't be a bad shout. Johnny and Annie are brother and sister-in-law. Johnny's married to Annie's sister. They have a company called Spoon Cereals, Spoon Granola, doing very well. Lovely people, lovely to work with them. They were on Dragon's Den, got funding on Dragon's Den, and they're sort of 10 years old now, 10 years into their cereal journey.
Which dragon?
They got two, I think it was. They got Deborah and I think Peter.
Oh, nice.
They got mentioned last night. There was a granola snack. I didn't see it last night. The granola snack was pitched, and Deborah referenced the fact she invested in Spoon.
Okay.
Nice.
There you go.
All right, good stuff.
Yeah,
Thank you for that.
Thanks
That was
for coming on
excellent.
the show, yeah.